Okay, so you guys have sent in some pretty wild stuff for this deep dive this time.
Yeah, it's a fascinating mix of stuff.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we're talking government spending and media and like all these big names.
Yeah, big personalities.
Yeah, it seems like it's all kind of centered around USAI.
Yeah, the U.S. Agency for International Development,
Yeah.
$40 billion budget.
Yeah.
It's tasked with, administering foreign aid.
Right, and they're kind of getting
One of the-
slammed by critics who are
Yeah, they've
Getting
come
the
under
odd idea.
fire for being wasteful, biased.
like, if our tax dollars were funding a transgender opera in Colombia or a DEI musical in Ireland, I don't know how I would feel about that.
Yeah, there's a whole
Those are some pretty eye-catching projects.
list of these kind of projects that the critics point to.
What's the shrimp treadmill?
Oh, the shrimp treadmill. Yeah, that's a classic one.
Okay, so there's that, but then there's also the more serious stuff too, right?
Right. Yeah, you have allegations of, money going to groups that are linked to terrorism.
Okay.
Like the Al-Nusra Front in Syria is one that's been mentioned. But, USAID, of course, they have a defense.
Right, because their work is pretty crucial. Like, they've saved millions of lives with things like HIV and malaria.
Yeah, they argue that they're, vital for global stability. They, and they've had demonstrably, programs that have saved millions of lives from diseases like HIV and malaria.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
And they also make the case that they're crucial for American influence abroad.
right.
It's not just about...
Okay, so then we've got Trump and Musk.
Yeah.
How do they sit in?
Right. Well, here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because this isn't just about USA.
Okay,
It's about, like, this whole philosophy of, government spending.
right.
And so we have this thing called DOGE,
Right.
the Department of Government Efficiency.
What is that? Is that even real?
This is where it gets a little murky. It doesn't seem like it's an official agency.
Yeah. At least not that anyone can find.
Right.
But it seems to be more of like a concept,
Mhm.
almost like a symbol of this push for...
So is it like a Trump and Musk kind of thing?
It really seems to embody this desire they both have to, slash waste and shake up the system.
Okay, so they want to make things more efficient.
Yeah, it's almost like a wrecking ball approach.
Yeah.
You know?
So what did they do?
Well, the tactics that are attributed to DOGE are pretty controversial, like freezing USAID's budget
Wow. Okay.
and abruptly canceling Politico subscriptions.
What? Okay, hold on. How did Politico even get mixed up in all this?
It's like this prime example of how a small event can just blow up, especially online.
Because they're a pretty big news organization, right?
Yeah, Politico, major news outlet, missed paying their staff for a bit.
Oh, no.
Yeah, just a technical error.
Okay, so that happens.
Yeah, you'd think it wouldn't be a big deal, but
Right.
right-wing influencers.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, they jumped all over this and started claiming it was because USA side funding was cut.
But that's not true, right?
That's where the trouble really began. It was completely false.
Wow.
But it spread like wildfire online. Even Elon Musk himself weighed in,
Really? What did he say?
tweeted to his millions of followers, basically saying government payments to Politico were a waste.
But wasn't it just for subscriptions to their, like, premium service or something?
That's the thing, right? It turns out, yeah, there were some payments to Politico, but it was mostly for subscriptions, not like direct funding. And anyway.
So they were twisting the facts to fit their narrative?
And then the Trump administration used this whole mess as an excuse to just cancel all their subscriptions. Said it was saving taxpayer money.
Oh, come on.
Um,
So was it really about saving money, or was it more about sending a message, like about press freedom or something?
That's the big question. I mean,
Okay, so we've got USAID under fire for how they spend money. We've got critics saying it's all wasteful and maybe even corrupt. We've got Trump and Musk pushing for a smaller government. And we've got this media firestorm with Politico that just adds another layer of complexity to everything.
exactly. And we have to ask, what are the consequences of all this?
Right, because, like, what happens if you just suddenly stop all these programs that USAID is running?
Yeah.
Programs that are fighting diseases.
Yeah, what about the people who depend on those programs? What about global health?
Right. And what about the companies that rely on those USAID contracts?
It has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You can't just pull the plug on something like that without there being consequences.
This whole thing also makes you wonder, about how our government actually works.
That's-
Did they overstep their bounds with this whole DOGE thing?
That's a big question, right? I mean, how much power does the executive branch really have?
Right.
And when you see something like those Politico subscriptions being canceled, it really makes you question whether it's really about saving money or if there's a political agenda at play.
Right. And this whole Politico thing is like a textbook example of how misinformation can just completely distort the public debate and even drive policy decisions.
Yeah. It's a wake-up call for all of us to really think critically about the information we see.
Absolutely, especially online.
Right, because it's so easy to just accept things at face value, especially when it's coming from someone you trust or someone who has a lot of followers.
Mm,
We need to be more careful, more discerning about what we believe.
we really do.
Okay, so we've uncovered a lot here,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore, especially when it comes to the potential long-term effects of all this.
Absolutely. I mean, think about how this could impact like global health, international relations, even trust in our own government.
Right, those are big questions.
Big questions.
And it's clear that the lines between, like, efficient governance, media independence, and political agendas
Yeah,
are getting really blurred.
getting blurred. Absolutely.
And it's up to each of us to keep asking questions and digging deeper to try to make sense of it all.
That's right. It's not going to be easy, but it's important.
Yeah, it really is. So from all of this, what really stands out to you? Well, for me, it's the power of narratives. How a simple story, even if it's false, can take hold and have real-world consequences. It's something we need to be very aware of.
I agree. And what about you? What do you think the lasting impact of all of this might be?
That's tough to say. I think we're still in the middle of this story.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a sign that things are changing. And not necessarily for the better.
Yeah, I think you're right. This conversation is far from over, and it's one that we all need to be a part of.
Absolutely. We need to keep talking about these issues, keep asking tough questions, and keep holding those in power accountable.
I think that's a great place to leave it for today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll be back soon to continue the conversation.
Looking forward to it. So imagine you're a health worker, right?
Okay.
In like a rural clinic
Yeah.
somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa,
Okay.
and you really rely on these programs
Yeah.
that are funded by USAID
Right.
for just essential medicines, supplies,
To treat things.
to treat malaria,
Yeah.
which is just rampant
Yeah.
in your region.
Yeah, of course.
And now imagine those supplies just dry up.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What happens?
It's scary to think about the real people who are affected by this.
Yeah, it's easy to forget
Yeah.
when you get lost in all the political back and forth
Yeah.
that there are real people whose lives are on the line.
Right. Exactly.
And it's not just about malaria.
right. They do so much more.
USAID is involved in all these initiatives.
Yeah.
Global health initiatives,
Yeah.
from fighting HIV/AIDS to improving maternal and child health. Like,
Right.
cutting off the funding
Yeah.
could be devastating.
Right.
You know, it could set back decades of progress.
So this is like a humanitarian crisis we're talking about.
Yeah, unfortunately, it could be. And it goes way beyond
Yeah.
just the immediate health outcomes.
Right. Because it affects so many other things.
Right. When a country's health system is weak,
Yeah.
it can destabilize the entire region. It can lead to things like poverty and migration, even conflict.
It's like pulling a thread on a tapestry. You don't know how much is going to unravel.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And we haven't even talked about the economic side of this.
Right. The economic consequences.
Like, you know, you stop USIT programs,
Yeah.
you can disrupt supply chains,
Yeah.
harm businesses that rely on those contracts,
Right.
and even hurt America's reputation.
As like a reliable partner.
Yeah, on the world stage.
So it's not just about like, you know, cutting costs and shrinking the government. It's
Okay.
about the big picture.
It's about all these systems, how they're all connected,
Exactly.
and thinking about, like, what are the unintended consequences
Right.
of our actions.
Which is hard.
It is hard,
Yeah.
which is why we need this
Right.
critical thinking and making these informed decisions.
Yeah.
You got to move past,
The simple narratives.
yeah, the simplistic narratives, absolutely.
Yeah.
And engage in this more, like, nuanced discussion
Uh-
about the role of foreign aid,
Okay.
the effectiveness of USAID's programs.
Yeah.
What could happen
Right.
if that funding is cut?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a conversation that's worth having because, like you said, the stakes are so high.
They are very high.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier that, like,
Yeah,
not everyone sees USAI as, like,
Yeah.
a wasteful behemoth.
right.
There's another side to this, right?
There is.
Yeah.
So what is that?
So you have all these people,
Mhm.
both here in the U.S.
Okay.
and all over the world,
Yeah.
who say USAI has been
Yeah.
absolutely crucial in promoting democracy,
Okay.
human rights,
Okay.
economic development.
Okay, so what are they doing?
So they point to the work that USAI has done
Okay.
in supporting democratic elections,
Oh,
strengthening civil society organizations,
okay.
promoting good governance.
Mm-hmm.
They say these efforts have helped to create a more stable
Okay.
and prosperous world.
So they're saying USAID is a good thing. Yeah, they're saying it's a net positive.
Okay.
And there's also this argument that USA
Yeah.
is really vital for American interests.
Oh, how so?
So the thinking is, by providing development assistance,
Okay.
USA can help create
Yeah.
more stable governments,
Right.
governments that are friendly to the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
help open up markets for American businesses,
Right.
and strengthen alliances.
So it benefits America as well?
It can benefit U.S. security interests as well.
So it's like a win-win.
That's the argument.
Right. Okay.
But like you said,
It's complicated.
it is complicated.
Yeah.
It's hard to sift through all these competing
Right.
narratives and perspectives.
Especially when you've got social media
Oh, yeah.
and misinformation.
Social media can just amplify things.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like people are weaponizing information.
Just to push their own agenda.
Yeah, for political gain.
Right. Exactly.
So-
Tough.
Yeah, it really is. It makes it hard to know what to believe.
It really does.
So what do we do?
Yeah.
Well, we have to be really careful
Okay.
about the information we consume.
Be more discerning.
Yeah, discerning consumers of information.
Yeah, because it's really easy, especially with social media, to just kind of like accept whatever we see.
Oh, absolutely. Especially
Yeah.
when it seems like it's coming from someone we trust.
Yeah, or someone who has...
Someone with a huge following.
Right, exactly. That makes sense. But how do we do that? How do we become more discerning?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's like we've walked right into a real-life political thriller or something.
Yeah, right.
It's got everything.
It really does.
Big money, powerful people, international stuff happening.
It's got intrigue.
And then on top of all that, we don't even know who to trust.
Yeah, and what's really going on.
Yeah.
It's a story that I think shows a lot about,
Yeah.
the world today.
What kinds of things?
The tensions, the challenges.
Oh, yeah.
You've got these huge forces that are clashing. You've got these government agencies, right, trying to navigate this really complex global landscape. And then you've got media organizations
Right.
trying to, hold on to their credibility
In a world where there's so much information.
when the information is so
Okay.
fragmented. Yeah. And then you've got these tech billionaires
Yeah.
with this power that we've never seen before.
And, we can't forget about the people
Oh, absolutely not.
who are actually affected by all of this.
Yeah, the people whose lives are actually being shaped by these decisions.
Yeah. The health workers, the families who need aid.
The communities that are, trying to rebuild their lives.
Right. It's easy to forget about all of that when you're thinking about all the politics and the money.
It is. It's easy to get caught up in the abstract.
Right.
The debates about budgets and policies.
Yeah.
But these decisions have real consequences.
Real consequences for real people.
Yeah, for real people.
So, okay, let's take a step back for a minute. For everyone listening, trying to understand all of this,
Yeah.
what are the big takeaways from this?
I think one of the biggest takeaways
Yeah.
is the need for critical thinking
Oh, absolutely.
and media literacy.
We can't just take everything at face value.
No, you can't just passively consume information.
Right.
You have to be active.
So we have to
You have to participate.
question things.
Yeah, question assumptions, look for different perspectives,
Make sure the sources we're using are credible.
evaluate your sources.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to think about our own biases.
Oh, absolutely.
And how they might be affecting how we see things.
Our biases can really shape our understanding,
Yeah, for sure. Because we're just flooded with information all the time.
especially now.
And it's not always accurate.
And a lot of it is designed to mislead us.
Exactly. So we have to be careful.
We do. We have to be really careful.
So, okay, what can we do? How can we be more discerning about what we believe?
Well, first of all,
Yeah.
be wary of headlines,
Oh, yeah.
especially on social media.
That are designed to get you riled up.
Yeah, anything that's trying to get a really strong emotional reaction out of you,
Right.
sensationalism sells, right?
So if something is making you really angry,
Or really excited.
take a minute
Yeah, take a step back.
and think about it.
Is this really reliable information?
Right.
Where's this coming from?
Exactly. Always look at the source.
Is it a legitimate news organization?
Yeah. With a good track record?
Yeah, a history of accuracy?
Or is it some random blog?
Yeah, or a social media account with a clear agenda.
Right. And what if I'm not sure?
Then do some digging.
Like how?
Look for other sources that say the same thing.
Corroborate the evidence?
See what fact-checking websites are saying.
Okay, that's good advice. What else?
It's important to look for different viewpoints.
Oh, yeah, don't just stick with things that you already agree with.
Absolutely not. You got to challenge yourself.
Yeah, look at things that you might not agree with.
Yeah, read something.
You might learn something new.
You might be surprised.
Okay, so we have to be careful about the information that we're consuming.
Yeah.
We have to think critically. What about the government? How do we hold them accountable?
That's a big question.
Right.
It's something people have been debating forever.
Yeah, but I think it's super important.
It is, and I think it comes down to
Transparency.
transparency.
Yeah.
The government needs to be open
About how they're spending our money.
about how they're making decisions,
What you're focusing on.
what their priorities are.
And it can't just be a bunch of data and reports.
No, has to be easy to understand.
Yeah. Regular people need to be able to figure it out.
Absolutely.
And we need to be able to give feedback.
Yeah, we need to be able to have our say.
But transparency isn't enough, right?
Right. You need accountability, too.
So if someone messes up,
If they're wasting money, abusing their power.
there have to be consequences.
They do.
That's where the courts come in, right?
Yeah, a strong and independent judiciary.
And a free press. They can investigate.
Yeah, they can hold people accountable.
Show everyone what's going on.
Shine a light on things.
But even big news organizations like Politico can be pressured.
Oh, for sure.
It can be hard to report the truth.
It could be really hard.
So we need to support them.
Yeah, we need to support independent journalism,
Oh,
subscribe, share their work, and speak up when they're being silenced.
because a free press is super important.
It is. It's essential.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot today.
We have
USA, Politico, Elon Musk.
the DOGE philosophy.
Media?
Yeah, how hard it is to know what's true.
Right. How do we make sense of all of this?
It's a lot.
What should people be thinking about?
I think the big thing
Yeah.
is we can't just sit back and watch.
Right.
Things are changing so fast.
Yeah.
The world is complex.
It can feel overwhelming.
It can,
Like there's nothing we can do.
but that's not true.
Okay.
We all have a part to play.
In making the world a better place.
Yeah, in shaping the future.
So what can we do?
We can stay informed.
Okay.
We can get involved.
Yeah.
We can speak up for what we believe in.
We need to be critical thinkers.
Absolutely.
Support each other.
Yeah, support independent institutions.
And keep the government accountable.
Yeah, make sure they're doing their jobs.
And remember, we're all in this together.
We are.
What we do now affects everyone.
It shapes the future.
So let's make good choices.
I like that.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope this has given you something to think about.
Yeah, something to explore.
Keep learning.
Keep asking those tough questions.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.